They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
All right, guys. I am sure the majority of y'all got the chance to watch the video yesterday. But just in case you did not, I want to remind everyone, I have a very exciting announcement that should be coming out later this week. And essentially how it's going to affect you is we are going to be live streaming very often on this channel, where I will be able to come through. I'll be able to talk more about my player analysis. I'll be able to answer more questions about your teams. But what you need to do if you want to be notified whenever we go live is you need to not only subscribe to the channel, which I am sure the majority of y'all have already done, but more importantly, you need to hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way YouTube will send you a notification when we go live. You can come in the live stream, hang out with me, ask a question, whatever you want to do. But I'm going to be very excited to give you all that announcement later this week, as well as get those live streams going. And also, every team that I'm going to be talking about in this video, all the screenshots, they were sent to me on Instagram, they were sent to me on Twitter, where I was able to take those screenshots down, convert them over to a transparent PNG, put them on the screen for y'all, and break down your team and give you some commentary over some players, whether or not I think we need to be buying or selling a few assets off the roster, or just overall fantasy basketball talk. So let's get into it. If you have not already, drop a like on the video, leave a comment telling me what your team is looking like and any questions that you have regarding it. But anyway, our first player that we are going to be talking about here is coming from Team 1. Let's get that back up on the screen. And this is going to be Tyler Herro. So I understand Tyler Herro was a name that was massive in the bubble. I mean, he had songs written about him. I mean, he had all the swag in the world. And he was a very exciting player to watch when he led the Miami Heat. Well, not led, but he was an important piece of that team getting to the NBA Finals. Well, this season, he's been very limited. We really have not had a chance to see Tyler Herro as the Miami Heat have been hit with just player after player after player being on the COVID list, being on the contact tracing list, and really the rotation has not been set for this team that was just in the NBA Finals a few months ago. But if we are looking at Tyler Herro right now, and if we look at what he's been able to do the past 4 games, is one, he is seeing a ridiculous amount of minutes in the rotation. This should be kind of obvious for anybody who is trying to project Tyler Herro in this rotation, as this is an extremely young player that is already making an impact on the floor, so they don't have to worry about just tiring him out. They don't have to worry about him suffering an injury. No, he is going to be playing back-to-backs. He is going to be out there almost every minute that he can, because that's what you do with these young guys to speed them up and get their development going. And over the last 4 games since he's come back from that COVID list, we've seen Tyler Herro average 16 points, more importantly, 3 3-point shots made a game, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. So here with Tyler Herro, I understand these aren't necessarily numbers that we need to be jumping up and down for, but at the same time, we need to all take a step back, realize what he was able to do during the bubble last season with making those shots and with being an impact player for the Miami Heat. If you combine that with the fact of how young he is and that he should continue to develop, he should continue to see more and more minutes in the rotation if his body can handle anymore. I think that Tyler Herro is someone that, while yes, the name value is there, I don't necessarily know if he's going to cost you a ton in trade. So I guess you could go out there and you could see what that price point would be. But now our next player that we're going to be talking about from this team is actually going to be Trae Young. And here with Trae Young, this is a player that I identified as a buy low candidate about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was really banging the drum saying, hey, I understand. He looks bad. He's incredibly inefficient right now, but he's extremely young. He's going to have the minutes. He's going to be playing every single game, and he's going to be getting so many possessions with the ball in his hands. And that's exactly what has happened so far. I mean, Trae Young is averaging 34 minutes a game so far this season, even including wherever the spell was that he was not performing how we wanted him to. He was still averaging 27 points a game, 4 rebounds, honestly, more rebounds than I expected from the small guy, and 9 assists a game at the same time. So while Trae Young has had his ups and downs this season, I think that we can safely say, you know what, it doesn't matter if it's a points league, it doesn't matter if it's a category league, Trae Young is an elite asset regardless. Definitely going to be the asset that I want most on this team behind Anthony Davis. And yeah, just want to point Trae Young out right now because he has been up and down so far this season. And now our last player that I feel we need to talk about on this team is going to be Jarrett Allen. And with Jarrett Allen, obviously we understand, the talent is there. The problem is, will the minutes be? Are we going to see Andre Drummond on this roster for the rest of the season? I don't understand why we would. Yes, the Cavaliers have exceeded most people's expectations so far this season, but even the people in the Cavaliers front office, they understand they are not true contenders for the Eastern Conference. If they want to become those true contenders, they need to maximize their assets to possibly pushing for the title in either 2022 or 2023, as they do have some intriguing young pieces to build around, including Jarrett Allen. So I don't understand why they would not take a player who has been playing extremely well, that is Andre Drummond, who's coming on an expiring contract, and try to sell him for whatever assets that they can get, especially if you take into account the fact that Andre Drummond really went to the Cavaliers at such a low price that anything they sell him for is going to be an instant profit for that organization. And Andre Drummond has already contributed to them winning basketball games, so they absolutely smashed that deal. And anyway, we got a small sneak peek of what Jarrett Allen could be on February 1st when he was finally able to get 35 minutes. He went out there, and we know Jarrett Allen is not going to be someone jacking up three-point shots. I'd be surprised if he ever sinks one of those. But anyway, he was able to score 23 points, but more importantly, he was able to log 18 rebounds and 5 blocks. And that is what makes Jarrett Allen a player that could be a star. If he consistently saw 35 minutes, while we would not expect 5 blocks a game, while we would not expect 18 rebounds a game, it would be entirely possible that Jarrett Allen could go out there and average 18 to 19 points. He could average about 12 to 13 rebounds and 2 or more blocks a game. And when that is in your range of outcomes and all you need is a player to be moved ahead of you, I think that's someone that we definitely need to continue to talk about until we see Andre Drummond traded. Because once Andre Drummond is traded, the buy window on Jarrett Allen is going to completely disappear. All right, well, let's get our next team up. Let's get Team 2 up, and here I have some apologizing to do. And our first apology is going to be coming with Kyrie Irving, which I need to highlight right now. I understand, guys, I included Kyrie Irving as a sell-high player for us earlier this season, and to be completely honest, when I called him a sell-high player, at that point, his price was actually at an all-time low, so if anything, he was a sell-low player. I was ringing the alarms. I was saying, get this man off your roster for whatever you can get. And yeah, that was wrong. Because while the Brooklyn Nets defense is on pace to be historically the worst defense the NBA has ever seen, the offense is so productive that it does not matter that Kyrie Irving is playing alongside James Harden. It does not matter that he's playing alongside Kevin Durant, because Kyrie is going to get his shots up. The possessions are going to be sky high for this Brooklyn Nets team. And really, outside of a few other players on the roster, Kyrie is seeing pretty much all of the usage. Right now, he is shooting a ridiculous 54% from the field and 44% from three. We know Kyrie's going to be giving you decent numbers from the free throw line at the same time. And this is something that I really need to point out, as generally when we see a 54, 44, 90 plus shooter, I go, this is regression. We are going to see him come back to earth. We are going to see those shots stop going in at such a high clip. But in the case of Kyrie Irving, it actually makes sense. I don't think we are going to see him regress, because opposing teams and opposing defenses really have to give so much credit to both James Harden and Kevin Durant that, similar to what I said about Jeff Green in the last video, Kyrie Irving is just going to find himself with more open shots than he has ever seen throughout the course of his entire NBA career. So while I think maybe the overall production for the offense comes down slightly, I think the efficiency for Kyrie Irving should maybe not stay at exactly these numbers, but they should be elite regardless. And then you also look at his raw totals of 28 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5.5 assists, and he's giving you also close to a steal and a block a game. Kyrie Irving looks like an elite fantasy asset right now. and I was completely wrong. Okay, so now our next player, probably one of the most polarizing players in fantasy basketball where owners have no idea what to do with him, is going to be Kristaps Porzingis. And here with Porzingis, obviously we know he's resting back-to-backs. Obviously we know that he has his injury concerns, which is going to limit his overall upside with his value in fantasy basketball regardless. But also, the floor right now looks incredibly low. I mean, he is averaging 30 minutes a game that he is playing, so really you're not going to be able to expect Porzingis to average any more than that, even when he does prove that he can stay healthy. But 19 points a game in the efficiency is atrocious. I mean, 45% from the field. He's shooting less than 30% from behind the arc. And you see some of these three-point shots from Porzingis, and they honestly look very similar to what Giannis is doing right now, where you can tell just the head coach is going, hey, Kristaps, you need to be putting up more threes. We need you spacing the defense for us. So Porzingis gets the ball, and he is just standing kind of out in no man's land. He's standing 3 feet behind the three-point line, and it's not natural in the slightest. He's not getting dished out when he is wide open, but as long as he can put a shot up, he's going, okay, I think I need to get about 6 shots up a game, and he's shooting it. It looks horrible. They are not going in. So Porzingis, you drafted him to be a center that was going to load you up on blocks and three-point shots, and the three-point production really is not there. Rebounding is also poor for a man of his size with only 8.5 rebounds. Clearly, this is a player that's going to be killing you with assists at the same time, where he's only giving you 1 assist a game. So guys, with Porzingis, I mean, he looks like a massive draft day bust right now, because even if he is able to turn it around, even if he's able to average 5 more points at slightly higher efficiency marks, the assists aren't going to be there. We know that he is going to be limited on how many rebounds he's going to be seeing compared to other big men at the same position. So if he's not playing every game, what kind of value does Porzingis really hold? That's something that we need to ask ourselves as we construct our rosters, because I'm a little bit worried. All right, so now our next player that we're going to talk about from this team is going to be Paul George. Here, Paul George, very similar to Kyrie Irving. I told y'all to sell high about 2 weeks ago, as he was shooting a ridiculous 52% from beyond the arc with volume at the same time. And you still see some recent games from Paul George where he's going 7 for 8 from behind the arc, and he looks like he's one of the most dominant players in the NBA. But this has been the story with Paul George throughout his entire NBA career, where he'll go through a stretch and he will look like the best player in the NBA. He'll look like he's in that LeBron James tier, and then he'll go through a month or two where he looks like he is not even an all-star. It's very just confusing with Paul George, just like I said with Porzingis, where now he's averaging 25 points, 50% from the field, 48% from 3, over 5 assists and 6 rebounds a game at the same time. So here, I understand that he has been an elite fantasy asset, that he has continued to knock down his shots, but I still have to question. I go, what is the production going to look like if Paul George comes down to earth a little bit, and instead of shooting 48% from beyond the arc, he is instead shooting 38%. But I will point something out here with Paul George. I have to give him some credit with these efficiency marks like I did with Kyrie Irving. If you look at the way the Los Angeles Clippers are moving the ball on offense right now, I mean, these shooters are seeing a good amount of open shots, and Paul George is not the only player on the Clippers that is knocking down the 3 ball at a very high mark. And I think maybe that has something to say about how they've transitioned the overall offense and how they're moving the ball. Okay, so now our last player that we're going to talk about from this team, and this is another reason why I need to give y'all an apology. I thought Kemba Walker was going to be better than this. I mean, what is going on? Kemba Walker, since he's come back from injury, I mean, he's played 7 games and he's looked horrendous. I mean, he is shooting 36% from the field, 30% from behind the arc. I mean, 15 points a game. What is going on with Kemba Walker? I thought that it was going to be much better than this, but yeah, maybe it was the injury. Maybe it's the fact that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have just changed the overall flow of the offense, where Kemba Walker does not necessarily fit. But as always, guys, go down to the comments. Let me know your opinion. I mean, your opinion is just as valuable as mine, if not more. All right, so let's get our next team up here. I'm going to try to do these a little bit quicker as we are running a little short on time. I'm going to try to get through 2 more teams. And here, this next team is absolutely loaded. I'm assuming that maybe this is a 6-man or an 8-man roster, because you have Harden, you have Giannis, you have Jokic, all on the same team. And I will say something just from an overall roster construction standpoint. If this is a category league, I absolutely love it, because what you did is you went, you know what? I am going to be punting the efficiency marks. I don't care about free throw percentage. I don't care about turnovers. We are going to load up with the Giannis, and we are also going to go with an RJ Barrett at the same time, who also has horrible efficiency. So you kind of double down in punting the free throw category. And at the same time, if this is a points league, still, you have some guys that are going to rack up so much production based on the overall usage that they have in their rotations at the same time. A guy like a Giannis, a guy like a James Harden, and Jokic, obviously we don't need to say anything about him, as he's clearly the best asset in fantasy basketball at the moment. I will say though, with RJ Barrett, this is one player that we need to have our eyes on going forward, because the usage in his rotation is sky high. He is seeing the ball a ton. He's putting up a ton of shots. They're just not going in. And we have to ask, at this point, after his struggles in his rookie season at the same time, is RJ Barrett just not a good player? We have to ask it. All right, so now our last team that we are going to bring up is a little bit more intriguing here, where we have two players that I want to hyper-focus in on. Starting off with the stud of the roster in Luka Doncic. And with Luka at this point, I think that if you can take a player like Jokic, who I loved coming into the season, and if you can sell Jokic for Luka and another piece, maybe like a Zach LaVine or someone that is producing at a very high clip, but that does not necessarily have the name value at the same time, I think that would make a ton of sense, because Luka at the moment is averaging a ridiculous 27 points a game, 9 rebounds a game, 9.5 assists. And I know in NBA circles, a lot of people are asking, is Luka the Russell Westbrook of this generation? Is Luka not able to manhandle the opposing defense to the point where he can really take over a game, where he can play winning basketball, or is he putting up a lot of empty stats? Well, lucky for us, we play fantasy basketball. It doesn't matter if these are empty stats or not. They are going to contribute to the same amount of points regardless of if the Dallas Mavericks win. But here with Luka at the same time, he's shooting less than 30% from beyond the arc still. So I think we have to just say, you know what? If this number gets bumped up to just say 35% from here on out, we could see Luka average close to 30 points a game, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. So if Luka's closing in on averaging a 30-point triple-double, even if the Mavericks are losing, it really does not matter. He is that elite fantasy asset. And then with Anthony Edwards, I know a lot of people are going to see him right now struggle in his rookie season, and they're going to be all out on him. I am saying, do not drop Anthony Edwards. Give him time. If he's on your waiver wire, try to go out there and pick him up. This is a player that is 19 years old. Literally just look up a picture of Anthony Edwards on Google right now, and you're going to look at him and you're going to go, oh my gosh, this is a child. Give him some time to develop. Right now he is averaging 13.5 points a game with horrible efficiency marks, but a decent amount of that is because Karl Anthony Towns has been out of the rotation for the Timberwolves. Only 3 rebounds and 2 assists a game. I'll say I don't expect the rebounds to go up. Maybe the assists can come up with Karl Anthony Towns back in the rotation, and the efficiency should definitely be a lot better. All right, now thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.